In this video, we'll cover replacing the valves for shower handles that look like this, and we'll share some quick tips and tricks and even a secret tip at the end. Be sure you cover your drain. Some screw or something's going to fall down out of your hands and you'll be glad you did. So a couple of tips to get the handle off. First step, there's a little cap on the end. You pull that off, you can get your fingernail under there or a screwdriver, and that's going to expose a little screw head. You can unscrew that. With that screw loose, you can just pull this handle right off, and you'll see that the handle was attached with these little teeth that latch on these little teeth that are part of the shower valve. And the part behind that might have a set screw, or mine didn't. It would just thread it onto the wall. So you can twist that out, unthread it, pull that out, and that will expose this valve, which has to be removed. These can be hard to get out of the wall. You have to reach this nut back here and unthread it out. And to do that, you'll need a special tool. They sell this at Ace Hardware, Home Depot, etc. And I had to use this 31/32 wrench for removing shower stems. And so that slips in through your wall, push it through this hole, and twist it and pull that shower stem out. Next tip, back in the wall, there is a shower seat. It's that round thing with, it looks like a square with 4 nibs on it. You have to remove it. Here it is removed. Now there's no seat. Here's what it looks like close up. And I can see part of the problem of my leak here is that this thing is pretty corroded. It's gonna let water seep through it. So I've gotta replace that. To replace that, again, need a special tool. This is the Husky tapered 6-step faucet seat wrenches I picked up at Home Depot. And you get similar tools elsewhere. They are tapered, and so you shove that down in there. You need to put some forward pressure while you turn this wrench to get that seat out. You gotta do it really carefully. Make sure you put forward pressure while you turn it so you don't strip out that seat. And you can replace it with one of these guys. Danco faucet seats, Pfister, probably number 38. And that's gonna do it. When you install the new seat, I used some Teflon tape. I folded it in half. I used scissors to cut it to length instead of tearing it to keep it nice and clean. And by folding it in half and wrapping it around the threads only, I can keep it really clean. I want to install it with this rounded side facing out, facing the shower. Threads go to the back. Put that brass seat on the end of your seat wrench, and then you can slide it into the hole to thread it in where it belongs. Some of the new replacement ones don't look exactly the same, but if the way it seats, basically the end of it, is the same, and the length is the same, there's a good chance that the replacement is going to work just fine for your old one. Here's a tricky part to this. The new one came where if I turn the handle loose, it will turn the water off. And the old one, if I tighten it, it turns the water off. So you have to reverse these sometimes. You can see this white piece, this little nib on the right, and that is off. And you can see my nib here is on the left, and that is off. And so I want to reverse that. I actually had to pop this off, turn it around, and put it back. Now it's easy to break it when you do that. You be careful. Maybe not this plastic part, but I found you don't want to push too hard, and kind of pushes all through the center of this. So you have to do that kind of carefully. I found a comment online, somebody saying from Danco that they recommend using some silicone lubricant when you put that white tab back on. So I'm going to try that and see if it'll slide on a little more easily. So I use an old screwdriver with a little bit of a rounded tip so I don't break anything. And I found that I could look at this thing and try to wiggle it, push it right off. So that's loose now, and I can take it off and take a good mental note here or paper note which way it is, take it off, and flip it the way I want it to go. Push it back, which I found hard to do. I'll put a little bit of that silicone on here. So putting this white thing back on the opposite side is super tricky. I'm not sure that the oil they recommended, silicone, helps, but I put some on there. And then what I ended up having to do was take off the guts out of the back, because when I pushed on this side, it just pushed everything out the back side. And then I found in there, I was able to put a screwdriver, flathead screwdriver, right in there to give it some pressure behind. And then I used a wrench to kind of split the difference, and then I tapped it until that went all the way down. And there might be a more graceful way to do it, but that's how I got it on there. And that's how you reverse which way it turns on and off. If you use the method I did and take the guts out of the back, this needs to go back inside. And you want to take some good mental notes and you take it apart to know how to put it back together. There's that part down inside. This needs to slot back inside of there. And with that part in, there are some little tabs on the back of this guy that fit only one way into there. So you have one piece facing like this, and then the other piece has two little tabs that slide in the tabs that are available, and they are opposite openings. So you put one opening to the right and the other one to the left. And it looks something like that when it's fitted inside. And then this rubber gasket goes in there, and it has a tiny little lip that stays on the outside. And there it is put back together. That was a huge pain, so hopefully you don't have to turn yours, or if you do, maybe you can find a more graceful way to take this thing off, flip it 180 to the other side, but I got it. Another tip, if yours falls apart like mine did, you want to test it before you put it all back together. That's closed, and for me that's righty-tighty, and then lefty-loosey opens it up and lets the water in. So you can see how that works, and just double check that before you put it back into the wall. You can see here, I can imagine my handle there. And that's tight, that's closed. Closed. Lefty-loosey open. And it's open, gonna let water in. I've got this valve ready to go back, and I have put Teflon tape here on this threaded part that's gonna go right into my plumbing connection. And Teflon tape actually helped this little black piece of plastic stay centered, because it gives it a little bit of thickness. It was wobbly before, and that helped a little bit. Put the Teflon tape on first, and black plastic will stay in place a little better. Now, one last thought before I install this. This is the old seat, but it will help me visualize what I'm going to do. As I tighten this into the wall, the seat will sit against here, and this black rubber will push onto that. And I found if I over tighten that, if I wail on that with a wrench or something, it's going to just cut this black rubber and not do much. It's really bad. So I think it's better, in my opinion, to not tighten this too much. Just get it snug, but don't get crazy on it. So here we are, ready to install, and we just want to make sure we get everything super straight, lined up, nothing cross-threaded, and just tighten. I actually hand tightened mine, firm grip. I could feel when it wouldn't go any further, and it would seated nice. But again, I didn't want to put a wrench on that and tighten it super tight and go right through that rubber. Once you've gotten this far, you don't want to go any further. You want to stop and go out and check your water at the valve. Turn on the water, have a friend watch this for you, and make sure you have no leaks. Once your valves are in, if you have the threaded type of handle backstop, you can just thread it back in. If you have one with the set screw, you got to push it in and then use the set screw to tighten it. And again, just by hand, just gentle. I've got the water on now, it's not leaking. I tested it, so I don't want to mess that up by over tightening this. Next tip is to buy some replacement handles so it looks like you actually did something. These will be nice and clean and shiny. Here's that new handle. I just slide it on there, and then there's a screw. It goes right in the middle. Set that in there, get my screwdriver, and tighten it up. Don't need to weld on this, just nice and firm. About like that. And if I want this to look really sharp, I can get the Pfister label to be perfectly flat when the handle is off. And then push it in right there. Bam, one is done. One more to go, and then I'll actually swap out that diverter too, so they all look nice. So there's all the new handles and new valves looking nice and shiny. And you can see I found a real Pfister hot and a real Pfister cold, but I had to get a knockoff shower diverter. So it's slightly different, but best I could do. Now the last step, how do I get that so shiny? There's a little secret between you and me. Let's do it here for this tub spout. What I use is secret sauce. Hand sanitizer from Walmart. A couple pumps of that. Don't tell nobody. And Barkeeper's Friend cleanser. And pour some of that in there. Just perfect amounts, 50-50. Make a little paste out of that. Good, and then watch the magic happen here. All those little hard water spots and a little griminess. Wipe it off, and we're good. Like it's brand new, everyone's happy. So, thanks for checking out this video. Hope it helps somebody out there, and I'll put the links to these products down below. Thanks.